And happy Sunday there, YouTube. Stampede Valkyrie coming back at you again with another AeroDynic video. Surprise, surprise, right? So what we're looking at here is the rear, as I'll get up and do a 360 here, of the last of the halogen series of AeroDynic wrecker bars. This one is a Model 25 RWLI2. Now this is preceded by the RW or Model 25 RWLI. And then that in turn was preceded by the Model 24 RWL or 25 RWL, depending on what you found and who had what. There were a couple other specific AeroDynic wrecker bars out there. I know I've seen a lot of RMVFs and RVFs in use for a wrecker bar. A couple, I'm going to say a couple. I think the other one was the RVF 1Z. I think the RVF1 was another one that I think Holmes put on a lot of their bars or a lot of their trucks, and that would be the other standard wrecker bar. But this is kind of like the newest of all the halogens and the final probably true wrecker bar that the AeroDynic actually ever came out with. Now the differences between and I'll just keep the differences between, as we're looking at the front of the bar here, between the RWLI and the RWLI2 are the end lamps and the flashers. And I'll get more into that as I take these lenses off as we go about it, but the bar itself is the same with the RWLI. The rear-facing mirrors, the direct flash rearward, as the wrecker bars were known for. The independent rotators found on the AeroHawk / Street Hawk style. And then you have your front flasher, and this mirrors on the other side, another one. This is the same. And then the rear stop turn tail, and then the rear work light in the back. Again, these domes aren't perfect, but they need a polish. I'm not at that stage yet. So the big difference between the RWLI and the RWLI2 are these lights. This guy, and this guy. On the RWLI series lights, typically there is no red lens on the end. These are both clear. And this light here is a par 36 AeroDynic style lights. In other words, it uses the par 36 lamps, not the lamp and a reflector, kind of like a stationary gear-driven aero reflector. And then the next to that here would be a groat stop-turn tail light. In other words, a groat lamp would sit in here and then face that way, and this would be clear, and the groat light would be red. On the RWLI2s, as you can see, there is the red filter, and there's also the clear filter. The par 36 lamp holders found in the other style AeroDynics are not here. Same thing in the front. So that's the only difference. Externally, the giveaway is this. These should be too clear on the older RWLI and the RWL series. On the RWLI2s, you're going to see red and clear. That's your external giveaway. The internal giveaway is the fact primarily that these are not the round AeroDynic style, or what do you want to call it, the round plastic par 36 holders that you see on every other AeroDynic, including the Model 25s and the preceding Model 24s. This would go along lines with the newer ADL series lights that were set up the same way with the independent rotators and the rear-facing mirror, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get these domes off, and we'll take a discovery of what's inside, and then talk about it real briefly, and then we'll wrap it up with maybe a little bit of function testing as I'm running out of daylight. And now we're back. Domes are off on this light. Again, we're looking at the rear of said bar. The indicator that we're facing rear, again, is the fact that the mirrors are facing you. And you can see the work lights here and here, where my pinky and my index finger are, and then stop turn tail right there and there. So let's go ahead and give this thing a work around, or a look over while we have the domes off. Again, one rotator cascading light, one rotator cascading light rearwards. Your lights themselves are pretty basic. Again, this is the big difference between the RWLI and the RWLI2. The two, you can see the bulbs with the parabolic reflector facing you in comparison to the par 36 lamp holders that were found on the RWLI and the RWL. So as we come across, you can see that yes, there is still a 537 can flasher on here, which is kind of interesting, because if you really take a look at this, and there's no date on this bar, at least there might have been one, and the stickers come off. So I'm going to cheat and go by what's on the motors, and that reads June of 98, which means that if this is in fact June of 98, the thermal can flasher at this point is long since obsolete, and I think that was just a cost thing. Maybe somebody can correct me, A lot of these bars that I've run into before had the FA3s. They were all the rage at that stage, or at that time, primarily being found in the Street Hawks and any other bar of this series, including the AD and the ADLs, which is what this bar is actually modeled off of. Same interior, same internals. So as we work our way across, we're going to come down here. We have a inspection number and then the tag. The 25 RWLI2 volts 12 series B. The 25 RWLI, if I would decode that, is the model 25, which is an all light bar. The R stands for the independent rotators, which are these guys. Well, actually, no, incorrect. The I is the independent rotators, which is these guys. See, look, now I'm paying attention. The RW is or basically R stands for, I'm going to say, wreckers. W is work lights, which are these guys. And then the L are the standard lights, which would be I believe your N lights here. So the RWLI basically is just a wrecker bar. RWLI2 is the par 36 lamp holders are different right here. Other than that, it's the same bar as an RWL, or RWLI, I apologize. Getting myself tongue-tied as I go over this. But in a nutshell, it is an interesting bar. These are quite common. They were everywhere, so I'm not going to say if these are rare in the slightest. However, they're starting to disappear like everything else, and let alone finding one in good condition. The worst thing with this bar, honestly, was me having to do a patch in the wiring, as I could not get the one stop turn tail. You can see that red right there. Patch the wiring piece because it was pulling so much that it started shaving itself on the inside and it shorted. So I corrected that. That was pretty easy. I may wrap some electrical tape around that just to give myself a little bit more protection. Other than that, the inside of the bar is pretty clean. As you can see, there's a little bit of corrosion, but nothing major. Honestly, it's just the typical. It's pretty clean overall, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Let's go ahead and get these domes back on it, and I'll fire it up, and we'll see what we can do in regards to getting some working video. And here we go, folks. I'm going to reach down here and fire it off. Hopefully not get blasted in the face like I did last time. There we go. So rear of the bar, you can see the work lights. You can see the stop turn tails. I currently have them set that they're acting like brake lights. You can also see the rear facing flash as it cascades to you. You have to bear with me. These these domes could really use a polish. They're not terrible, but they're not great. A little bit of effort probably go a long way. So as we come along, I'm gonna spin around. You can see there's really no side warning unless we're looking at just the flasher itself. It's just the one rotator on each side. When we come across the front, you can see what I'm talking about in regards to the flash being directed rear. As you can see, here we go. We're in front of the bar. The flashers are going and all their thermal flasher goodness. It's actually working pretty well this time, surprisingly. And then you can see that pretty much there is no front-facing cascade. I mean, that's the giveaway. So there it is in a nutshell. I mean, interesting bar. It is an AeroDynic. This is the last of the AeroDynic wrecker bars, at least that I know of. If somebody knows of another one, let me know. This is at least the last or the newest version of the AeroDynic wrecker bars. You will still find these in service. I still see these out there. They're used quite commonly still. Often though, now with LED lighting, everything has supplanted this, which is kind of a shame. It's still an AeroDynic and it's still interesting to see. So that's it in a nutshell. Come around again one last time. If you get down, you can see the front on this. Plan on doing another video with this bar at some point in the near future after I clean the domes up. You never know, I have a surprise for one of these guys too at some point, but we'll see if I can ever get around to that. Alright YouTube, that's it in a nutshell. I'm going to wrap it up here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I enjoy working on them.